Corey and Joe with you.
What's up?
Here for our Sunday chats. Hopefully everybody's having a good weekend.
Are these still combos with Kojo?
These are still combos with Kojo. I think it's episode 8.
I haven't. I don't know.
I have to look at the last video I posted every time when I post a video to figure out which episode it is. The last time I forgot to look, thought I knew, and then I called it the same episode name as the one previously.
Sometimes we're going to have a couple episode 7s. Maybe it's just a continuous. This is episode 7.
You know it's hard for us to get everything done in our episode in the timeline. I mean, we're already off to a roaringly detailed and
3 minutes.
start.
3 minutes in, and we haven't done anything.
Yeah. So hopefully, your car didn't get too icy this morning.
It was terrible.
It was pretty rough. It took me a little longer to get here, so this video might have to be a little bit shorter than usual. Last week we had talked about SMART goals and the open equipment list, with the idea that we were going to talk about a couple other things, and we didn't really get to it.
Not at all. We didn't even get close.
No, not even close.
Which is not surprising for us.
We were going to do 7-minute quick rounds, and I don't even know why we waste our time.
We know better.
So one of the things, company I follow, I paid them $3,000 for a summer course for individual assessment programming. I thought it was going to be different than what it was. It's not to say it didn't have value, but I didn't really get out of it what I wanted to get out of it, and money would have been spent better elsewhere. Again, valuable course, but they posted on their professional account for the coaches to follow them. It's not really necessarily for just anybody, although anybody can follow it. And they said, in a group class, 10% of an individual's needs are met in a group class. And let me just state that in the comments, he said it was a guess. It was clickbait. It would be akin to me saying 90% of people that do individual programming or coaching just have more money than sense. Be pretty rude to say, correct? The idea that we're the 150 people we have as members, the 60 plus we see every day, we're only meeting 6 of their needs.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Come on. I didn't care enough to read and try to engage with him and explain on that, because it was clearly clickbait.
Yeah.
And he was going to switch the conversation. It wasn't a real conversation he wanted to have.
And that's the frustrating part is I don't know who this was. I did see the post. It was clear that I don't even think they believe that statement. It was just, I hope they don't.
Yeah. I hope it was just a way to get people to engage. But honestly, after they posted it, I had to unfollow. I don't follow people on Instagram for clickbait or to poke the bear to get into an argument. I follow you because I think you're an intelligent person, or you provide
valuable
value, and that value isn't just fighting with me or trying to say what I'm doing is wrong. But let's take it on the face value. And this guy comes from a chiropractic background, owned a CrossFit gym, runs coaching seminars basically to teach you to be a personal trainer and to drive that revenue up. And I just listen. Not every gym's our gym, right? So maybe most CrossFit gyms or other gyms you go to, they're not out there communicating with you or working with you or anything like that. We address your needs. We know your goals. We know your injuries. Can we give you a super specific rehab injury program?
Yeah.
On the fly in class? It's going to be tough.
We can work around it. We can get you to work around it.
We can work around it, and we can tell you things to do pre or post, things to avoid, but things to do pre or post that are going to improve that injury based on our diagnosis. I'm not a doctor. If you go to a doctor, they're going to give you a rehab plan. If you go to a PT, they're going to give you a rehab plan. It's all great. We will accommodate those things. A drop of a hat. It's not, if you squatting and your doctor tells you not to go to full depth, we got you, bud.
We'll get it worked out. We'll figure something out.
We'll get it worked out. We'll test you through a couple of things. If we have a no list of things that you just can't do, no work around it, it's easy. You're still in the group classes. You're still doing everything with everybody.
which is maybe a little different.
5 to 15 minutes beforehand or afterhand that you need to be going through your PT. And guess what? Great place to do it is PT. Here, if you're not constantly having meetings, right? Maybe you have one meeting a week with your PT, but you've got 5 days of work. We're still out here on the floor.
Well, and we can
watch you move.
And that's the big thing. Like, if you have a prescription from your PT, we know the movements. Like, if you show us what you have, or usually we could just see you do a movement and be like, hey, and
I'll always ask, like, hey, were you specifically told to drop your elbow?
Yeah. Were you specifically told to keep your shoulders forward, or do we need to work on pulling those shoulders back? So, having a set of eyes, we're not PTs, but we do know exercise. So we could help you with those specific movements.
I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor.
And we have all the stuff in here.
Yeah, I can help with imbalances and stuff like that. You tell me you've got a tight elbow, I'm going to tell you a couple things. I had a member talking about an elbow pain. I was like, listen, it's your ulnar nerve. It's either golfer's elbow or tennis elbow, depending on if it's the high side or the low side. And, tricep pain. And I'm like, you can Google those things. I can Google them for you. But, start there. You get 3 pages that are kind of saying the same thing and have the same rehab program.
Try it.
Try it, or just be like, hey, I found these things. I found them on a couple of pages. Corey, Joe, what do you guys think?
Yep.
And we'll look at it and help you with that. If one of the sources you cite was a TikToker with 1 million followers, I'm just going to say no. Don't follow it. Don't do it.
Unfollow.
Yeah.
Unfollow.
It's probably because here's the real talk. The real advice, the good advice that you need, it's not sexy.
No. And that
is doing the same 3 to 5 things every day for 6 to 8 weeks.
I've been working on it. I've been working on my
same with my shoulder
and it's it's uncomfortable and painful to do it, and it's also really boring and not very fun at all. But I've noticed it has helped. I don't have a lot of shoulder pain. We haven't quite got there with this whole back thing that I'm working on, but I have been a little bit more conscious of trying to sit here and maybe not. So if I look taller in this video, it's because I'm not sitting like this. I'm actually trying to sit up straight. My wife always yells at me for slouching, so I'm fix it.
And why does it bother me? Because other people can see it. Disparage group classes. It's not a fair shot. Again, it would be like me saying those things about personal training, and I'm not going to say them. I don't love personal training. I get asked about it every once in a while, and I'm like, we can freshen up the moves, we can go over that, but an ongoing
personal training.
Well, maybe at best you need some personal programming, which again we're happy to do, and I'm happy to personal train you. It's not the intersection of my real interest, and I think I just don't think your problems are as unique as you think they are.
Yeah. And so we talked about this the other day, and I think a kind of a big thing as far as personal training is I was a personal trainer.
Yeah.
There is a reason I'm no longer a personal trainer.
It's not because you weren't good.
It's not because I wasn't good. And you and I could both go out right now and get jobs as personal trainers and honestly probably make pretty good money.
More than I make now.
But I mean that's
it's not a high bar.
What is that saying? But it's not because it's not that we couldn't be personal trainers. It's we know that this works better. And this is more fun.
We have more fun. We enjoy it more. And I'd agree. It works better.
Again, unless you have a specific injury that you really just need to work on and you're not quite at going to a PT yet.
Yeah.
Or or our Olympic lifts.
Yeah.
If you're like, man, I really need to just spend 1 or 2 sessions with you to work on cleans or snatches or my muscle ups or my pull-ups or whatever it is for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It's the group setting is just, it's better. It's just better.
And the one thing I would say, and this is going to switch from what we just said, I would love if every single member bought 1 personal training session a month.
Yeah. To go over.
Where let's check in where you're at. It's a combo goal setting,
a half hour
combo, refreshing technique, building a relationship on both sides.
We should do that. Half hour of nutrition, goal setting, talking, and then a half hour.
And surface level mindset.
Oh,
I don't want to go into like
not gonna
deep
go,
level, like
no.
psychological stuff. Like
we're just going.
I'm not
like,
opening that can of
no,
worms.
holy cow! Oh no, that's $200 an hour.
Yeah, call your therapist, which I also recommend you do. But I'm not
I'll
trying
get-
to dig
I'll get
into your
certified.
childhood and find out why you're afraid to push your intensity.
Yeah,
I'm gonna work on some
surface level
surface
stuff.
level generic.
Are you
mindset
eating
stuff.
enough? Are you sleeping enough? Like, what are your goals for the 2023, whatever year this is?
And if anybody's watching this is interested, like pricing on that is going to be different, right? Because we don't have to write a whole program for you.
Right.
We can specialize again, like a check-in of a goal setting, 15, 30 minutes, and then, hey, these are some drills that are going to get you closer to that goal.
Well, yeah, if you have like
or
one,
these are some tools that help me wake up in the morning.
I mean, it could be
stuff like
anything.
that.
It's like, man, like, hey, I noticed the other day, like, you were really bummed with your pull-ups. Like, do you want to spend a half hour just kind of working on some skills and drills after we talk about everything else?
Yep.
That would be that's an appropriate type of personal training.
And in our opinion.
Yeah. Oh, a one-on-one.
And if that's going to be the intersection of where we still feel like we provide the most value, because we're just trying to get you to move better in group class. Our goal with personal training is never going to be for you to be a personal trainer client. We want to get you out of personal training or minimize the sessions as quickly as possible to get back in group. Again, that's what we love. That's why I don't really do an on-ramp, individual on-ramp. I want you in group classes because that's what we do here.
Well, it's just more fun.
Yeah.
And this kind of will go into our next topic of discussion, I believe. But like, I will never push myself as hard alone as I would with a group.
Yep.
And that goes for like intensity. That also goes for like weightlifting. Like if I'm trying to pull a PR deadlift,
I want
a group, like high energy, loud music, like people cheering each other on. Like I'm more likely to hit that PR than if I'm in here alone.
It's funny you kind of said it. Like if you follow football, the Cowboys kicker had missed 4 extra points in the game before the 49ers. Everybody was like, "Oh, is he going to miss it?" And they went and they blocked the first one, and he goes up for the second one. The crowd's going wild, and I was kind of thinking, what'd be crazy here? Everybody just went eerily quiet, right? Because then it's completely changing his experience, right? And so he's used to a loud crowd, and he kind of uses that to drown out all the internal thoughts. But if everybody went deathly silent,
yeah, that's like a
and
mind.
then it's just like, oh crap, everybody's looking at me to like break this record of like most missed kicks in a row.
Oh no!
Like,
did he do it?
He ended up making, I think it was a field goal, and then he made his extra point. But I was just thinking about that, like just switching that balance. And when he was talking about that, I was thinking about golf. Like it gets crazy quiet.
Yeah.
But if you ever watch like Happy Gilmore, right?
Yeah, he's like, come on,
trying to get the crowd
let's
up.
go.
Like, let me turn off my brain, and I turn off my brain by you guys being excessively loud. And you watch some, like free throw shooters, the end of a basketball game, and the crowd's going wild, and they just sink it. It's all net. I'm just like, wonder what would happen if
it was the opposite,
completely quiet.
Like if we flipped like basketball, football, you had to be quiet. They had the little posts, and then golf was like beer.
Well, even
like
not if you didn't have to, but just every once in a while at the stadium, you were just like, "Hey guys, we're gonna be really quiet and see if this works."
Super quiet. Although I will say, like, I forgot to say this. Just random side note for the probably at least 4 people watching this video. When we are going for big lifts on those Olympic lift days, I did want to remind everyone, try not to walk in front of people while they're doing their lifts. I meant to say that the other day, and I completely forgot. It doesn't matter almost any other time, but when we've got those like big snatch or big clean and jerk days, like we want to try not to walk in front of one another.
Yeah, and there's some Olympic weightlifters put that on, and they're like, "Hey, we really love CrossFit because it's kind of saved our sport, but also." Y'all have grown up in CrossFit, and then you kind of come into Olympic weightlifting gyms, and you follow the same like standards that you have in CrossFit, and they're like, stop walking in front of somebody when they're lifting.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And you can wait that 15 seconds.
Yeah.
For them to get locked in, set up, and pull that lift.
And if it's
don't cross their path.
If it's in a Metcon, like don't worry about it, because I can tell you it's probably not even registering on their mind. But yeah, if it's like a big lift attempt, like we want to try not to do that.
And there's other things like don't step over somebody's bar. That's a sign of disrespect.
So I had a buddy that trained in Japan that said that. He said you don't step over the barbell, but they'd ghost ride empty bars. They'd throw them from the top.
They throw bars, but you can't step over somebody's bar.
You're not supposed to step over anyone, like not even your own. You're supposed to go around your bar because stepping over it's disrespect. I thought that was really weird because here, if you step over my bar, I don't care. But if you let an empty barbell fly from overhead, I might fight you without warning. Yeah. Or 10s or 15s. Don't drop those either.
Yep.
What was our next?
So I wanted to actually step back. We didn't have it on the list, but I knew we wanted to talk about this. Corey and I are going to start. We want to do a once a month.
Oh yeah.
Skills session on Sunday. I think.
Are we talking? Is it like a seminar? What's a good word for what we want to do?
Workshop.
Workshop. Yeah, I like workshop.
So our first one, my phone's recording. It'll be in February. We'll get the date out there. We're going to do a rowing workshop.
Is it this weekend? This coming up weekend?
I think so. Because we have to get it done before the Open and give people some time to practice. We chose rowing because it's the only machine in the Open.
February 5th.
February 5th. Some of you have done a similar version of what we're going to do. Kevin Downs used to put them on here. He shared with us his template that he had gotten. So we're going to look over that. We're looking for it to be 60 to 90 minutes. This one, we're going to teach you your individual damper setting, go over some row technique, and then give you a good workout to finish it. For this, as we're starting and building this, there's not going to be any charge. If you want to donate some money,
that's cool,
to gym equipment, or so we can get lunch that day.
We would love it.
If it gets big and we start having to cap it, okay, then we're going to start charging. Or if we're doing that and not getting donations, we'll start charging. Because it is time, it is
effort, research.
Again, a mechanic is like, you don't pay me for how long it took for the job. You pay me for how long
my experience
and my experience. Like Corey and I have lots of experience. We just want to bring that. We're very proud of what we coach in class, but we do understand the limitations of that. Going back on this personal training, so there's a way to get these done, still be in group, but have these little small smoke focus sessions. Like I said, this first week will be rowing. Then we'll kind of, play it by other people's goals, but maybe it's a pull-up seminar. Maybe it's a snatch.
Toes to bar.
We're not going to run out of ideas, and if we ever did, we could just
start over.
Because you're always going to need something cleaned up.
It's never
go to the next thing. So we'll get more information about that if you're interested. Awesome. Love to hear it. We just, we want to make you better. Literally, I know it sounds so overused.
Well, we say it all the time.
We want to make you better.
Like that, we talked about it in our last video too. Like, you being better makes us get better.
Well, it's just, again, it's whatever it's called, but like, my job's to get good, to make you good. You being good pushes me to learn more and adapt, which then makes you better, blah, 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 blah.
It's a cycle.
And it's this cycle. And so we'd love to not give you the same cue in 2023 as we gave you all in 2022.
Even though I'll always have to yell at people for their low elbows.
Maybe I'm just going to... Inefficient row pull. I think I'm always going to have to yell at people.
Maybe instead of high elbows, we should just this year say, raise those bows.
Yeah.
All right. 2023 is the year of raising the bows instead of high elbows.
Bows up.
Hashtag bows up.
Burn the bows.
No, don't burn them. Raise them. What was it? Or did you have any more on our seminar or our workshop?
No, I think that'll be it. And again, like a lot of things we do, we'll kind of tailor it to the people that are there. We will have to figure out the schedule. Again, Sundays are like a weird day because we're here recording this video at 8. We got class at 9. Don't really know that it makes sense at 10, but maybe it does. We'll go to 10:30. Or the other thing I was thinking is pushing double mech on Sundays back, that we do the video and then we do the seminar class. Because like rowing, it's not going to be that big of a deal if it was after the class, but if it's a snatch workshop, we don't really want you to do that after a double mech on Sunday.
Yeah. So you're saying Double Metcon Sunday goes later.
Yeah.
This and workshop.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll play with it. We'll run some ideas.
If you guys have any super fantastic ideas,
just let us know.
We'll be open to hear them.
Usually. Last 8 minutes. The only other thing we had on the list was CrossFit diets and intensity versus volume.
Maybe intensity versus volume, and then CrossFit diets will have to wait till next week so I can read up more. I bought a book on the zone diet, an entire book on the zone diet. So I'd like to get into that a little bit. You want to do intensity volume?
So yeah, we've had the conversation so many times about intensity versus volume.
I'd say we've at least had it with one person, right?
Yeah. I don't want to go into the same conversation that we've had before. But again, this came up. We were watching Underdog's podcast while we were milling around the gym doing, accessory work. And, two of the other members that are volume people saw it. And I think
I wasn't here for that.
kind of thought I put it on just to at them, which, listen, I've been known to have a little passive aggressiveness, but I wasn't that passive aggressive that day anyway. I didn't know what they were going to talk about. They just talked about it.
Now, this might not be the exact conversation people think we're going to have. So don't turn it off, because there is, I told Joe and I would both agree, there is a time and place for this.
Exactly. So there's absolutely a time and place for volume. One of the scenarios where volume makes sense is you're going to do a competition, or you plan on competing.
Because we'll say in a 2-day comp.
Yeah.
In a 2-day comp, you're almost guaranteed to do at least 3 events a day.
Yeah.
Or 2 events at night.
Or they shouldn't have made it 2 days.
Yeah. So, or even a 1-day comp, because our comps have usually 3 events and 2 floaters.
I think we're going to go away from the floater model.
So we might just have
in-house events.
3 to 4 events.
Yeah.
Which means you need to be able to do a
Volume
couple workouts. Yeah, a couple workouts a day and recover. What I think the rub is for both Joe and myself, and you can throw it out there if I'm incorrect, is that a lot of people, when they start adding volume, they start sacrificing intensity, which is where we have a problem. It's where my main problem comes from. If you have 3 Metcons to do, then while you're doing your first one, you're holding back, you're pulling back, and that's where you're wrong. Intensity will always be,
and again, all generalizations are false, including this one. Can you find a way to hit 3 Metcons in a day with absolute intensity?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Do I rarely see it applied? Yes. Also yes.
In order to do that, I think you'd need to have almost an entire day. You'd have to hit your.
You need to, and I'll be nicer and just say there has to be a break in there,
like a pretty significant break.
Yeah, and I mean, let's just be nice and say an hour. And I'm not saying you don't do anything for the hour. Maybe you're doing accessory, maybe you're doing a lift, and then you're coming back. You need to have a snack. You need to get some stretching, and honestly, you need to, if it's comp prep, you need to let yourself cool back down. And then rewarm back up, because you're not just going to go from that. Again, practice the way you want to play.
Right.
And with the heats and the divisions, and you're just not going to go from Metcon to Metcon. I think a great way to add volume is make things EMOMs.
Yeah.
Especially working on skills. The other thing I'd simply say is who is the volume conversation most at, right? You're better athletes. But your better athletes, and I see it over and over again, is they'll do a higher skill than they can maintain intensity on.
Yeah.
Whether it's handstand walking or whether it's bar muscle ups. I'm not telling you to not do bar muscle ups in a workout. What I'm telling you is that's not your intensity workout for the day.
Right. That would be your slower and like you said,
skills under fatigue workout. But for an intensity workout, you need to look at it and be terrified of the workout, because you need to look and say, there is literally nothing in here that can slow me down. This barbell
I can do this unbroken.
Is light. For me, if it's a 135, clean, scares the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble because I can do that all day.
Well, it's a perfect example. Any open workout, or the majority of open workouts, the reason they have that reputation of being detrimental is because a lot of the times the bar's light and the skill's lower.
Yep.
which means there's nowhere to hide. You just push. The only thing that's going to stop you is you. Yeah.
And when I hopped on the program I'm currently on, like, it was rowing and burpees over rower over and over.
Yeah, you did that workout 58 different ways,
and
100 different times.
And it's just
always terrible.
It's awful because there's never a reason to give in other than mentally weak or you have just redlined and hit your capacity. Let me tell you, bud, I did, and I hit it a lot earlier than I convinced myself it existed. Because every other time I'd be like, oh, it's 20 toes to bar. I need to break this down to 12 and 8. And inevitably that break becomes 15, 20 seconds. That was enough for my heart rate to come down by using skills to slow me down. Whereas, let's just say it was AdMat sit-ups. Nothing to stop me. Other than local muscle fatigue and
pain.
So I think you need to think about those things if we're really wanting to move the needle. The next thing, and I will say, listen, every time I say this, somebody's like, "Oh, stop selling yourself short." But like, you're always going to compare yourself to the people above you. So right, I don't feel like one of the best athletes, and definitely not right now. So for me, intensity isn't really the hardest thing because I don't finish first. So there's always a rabbit to chase. So if you're one of the ones that you're good, you put in the hard work, and you're winning the workout, and it's not requiring you to like redline and push really hard, that can be frustrating. And so you think the solution is volume. But the best athletes in the world imagine somebody else a couple of reps ahead of them. Well, and every time, no matter where they were at, they imagine the person they want to beat is 3 reps ahead of them. And I can't stop. I can't let up.
Well, no. And, like, that's one of the really cool things about, like, what we're talking about taking class.
Yeah.
Is because you have athletes that will scale the weight, which means sometimes they can move faster, which means, okay, you guys are different divisions, but now you have someone to chase. That's when I take classes. I always look at that. It's not like, and this is more like me. Like it's not always a competition. It's a competition with yourself, but having someone to chase is always going to make you push harder.
Well, and you said it perfectly, right? When we had this conversation, I made the comparison to golf. If you play golf and you've got your handicaps dialed in, it's competition that day. If me and I would say Tiger Woods, but I guess he's not really relevant anymore. I don't know, Dustin Johnson, Roy McIlroy.
Is this golf?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Where invited me to a tee time with him. Right, we had our handicaps dialed in on that day.
Same.
Did I play the course better? Right. And when we talked about it, he gave the example, and I'm going to say her name because she's been really impressive with her attitude, effort, and everything in here. But it was Brittany McMurray. And I think it was a workout on a bike or something like that. And she was chugging along and just pushing. And, we saw her kind of checking out other people's monitors, like, where is she at in this race? And those people had scaled. They were different. She didn't care. She wanted to be to the next stage of the workout
before first.
Which is why she's made incredible progress in a very limited that, and she always wants something extra to work on. Corey will give her 5 to 10 minutes of stuff to do.
She likes lunges.
Corey has a soft spot for anybody that likes lunges.
I love lunges.
So if you ever want to bond with Corey, just talk about lunges.
Let's just do lunges.
But that's a mindset thing. Right? And she found a way to push her intensity, even though she was in the lead, or even though she was competing against people that were doing a different workout, less volume workout or whatever. She still used that as motivation to push a little bit harder, get that little extra bit.
Well, yesterday, I don't know when this is going to get posted, but we had our first crosstown throwdown. The athlete set up in the lane right next to me was doing the workout scaled. They were moving faster, which, even though, again, different weights, I knew they were scaled, pushed me to move faster. Because even though they were doing less weight or different reps or whatever it was, I wanted to move to the next part of that workout before they got there. And it wasn't like I had a personal issue with them. It's just that's what I needed to push me. And that's kind of like the beauty of what we do here is if we all get everything, our handicaps dialed in, then this is just a fun race for everyone.
Yep. And we say competition, but yes, my goal is to beat you. But my goal is really to use you to beat myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that makes a difference. One other place that I'll put is even if there's no real benefit to volume, right? And we can argue whether there is or not. Sometimes it's just a better choice than something you do otherwise, right? Yeah. And we've talked about this. If it's Friday night and you're like, should I run the second piece or should I go to the bar and get drinks with my friend?
Come in and do a second workout.
Run the second piece.
Even if you're doing a 23% effort, you're better off doing that than going out and doing something. So like
a choice is going to be made. Make the best choice, and if sometimes that's volume,
that's fine.
That's fine.
And like we've said, like volume is definitely necessary at a certain point. It's just not necessary with the cost of it.
If you're going to add more than an hour training, please make sure you're invested in some sort of wearable that's telling you your strain, telling you your recovery.
Yeah, you need, like recover. You need to recover.
You got to 9 hours.
So much sleep.
9 hours, and that's minimum if you're going to hit over an hour of training. And sustain it and not break down unless you're just a freak. Calories, bud. If you're doing 2 hours of training in here, I don't care who you are. It can't be below 2,500.
I'd say it's probably pretty close to 3,000.
Yeah, and my calories are 3,400. I'm not a big dude, and I eat that most days. And I haven't become a big dude. I've just felt a little better.
I'm listening to HWPO, which that's a whole. But one of the things that Fraser talks about in there that makes this really easy is think about your goal. If your goal is to be a competitive CrossFit athlete, look at that. Any decision you make as, will this move the needle closer to me becoming a competitive athlete or further away? Yeah, that's how you could look at anything. Should I go do a second Metcon or go out and drink? Well, which one's going to move it closer or at least keep it the same and not make it go back?
Not even drop it as far back.
Right.
If any decision is going to move it to the back,
which one's less?
Which one moves it to the back?
Should I have 2 beers or should I drink this entire bottle of bourbon?
Yeah.
Like, well, 2 beers might move it back a notch, but the entire bottle.
I'm not using that to rationalize bad decisions because there is a way to make a fourth decision that is positive, but I'm also realistic.
Yeah.
We're going to make decisions that are detrimental to our overall goal because we're human beings.
Well, and
when you're faced with those decisions, make the less bad decision.
Yeah. And you and I have talked about it, and so CrossFit's whole thing is eat meat, vegetables, nuts, seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar.
Yeah. And they mean no added sugar.
It's 2023. Yeah. So I think a more appropriate way would be little starch, little added sugar. Yeah. Because we're all like, if you're going to have a cookie, have your cookie. You're better off than depriving yourself and then binge eating 50 cookies in a day. Yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to say, and we're almost out of time, was if you're going to add volume, don't add it all at once. That was the other thing I want to talk about.
Yeah, if you've been training for 6 months and you're
3 days a week,
you went from 3 days a week to 5 days a week, you now can add a 2 a day, 1 day a week.
One time. Do not go from 3 times a week to 2 times a day, 5 days a week, or you're going to have maybe a week of training.
Yeah, and then I'll see you for a week or two, and then
I won't see you for a month.
Yeah.
So if you ever have questions about how to intelligently and responsibly add volume, please talk to Joe.
And if you're willing to listen and apply what we say,
just talk to one of us, please.
All right, we gotta get ready for class.
Bye, guys.